Hi, everyone, and welcome to NetElixir's annual Cyber 5 Results, Trends, and Insights webinar. My name is Rachel, and I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager here at NetElixir. We're so excited to share with you the results of a very successful Cyber 5 weekend. After we share the latest insights and what the data means for your brand, stick around for a special offer. We're giving away free demos today to one of our most valuable tools. NetElixir helps e-commerce brands find and engage their high-value customers, not just during Cyber 5, but all year long. Our digital marketing specialists have been perfecting a growth formula for more than 18 years. We help brands redefine their search marketing strategy using a combination of AI-powered tools and real-time consulting. We have over 13 years of international search marketing experience, and our team's expertise has allowed us to be part of the Google Leadership Circle. We're among just 27 agencies out of 7,000 in the US and the only one from New Jersey with that distinction, and we're proud to work directly with the Google team. Before I hand it off to our presenter, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to our Giving Tuesday fundraiser for the Udaan Trust Flight Foundation. The Udaan Trust provides young girls in India the opportunity to gain an education and break out of the cycle of poverty. We're so proud of the students that we've been able to sponsor so far, and we're hoping for some additional support this holiday season to make more of their dreams come true. You can donate directly using the QR code on the screen, or you can link your Amazon account to Amazon Smile. A donation of just $10 can pay for an entire college exam fee, so it really makes a difference. Thank you again to our donors who have already made such a tremendous impact. We know it's a busy time of year, so let's get to it. I'd like to introduce our presenter today, NetElixir's founder and CEO, Udaan Bose. Udaan is an innovation fellow at the Columbia Business School and a guest lecturer at Cornell University, Baruch College, and the Indian School of Business. Prior to starting NetElixir, Udaan was the director of business development for Party Gaming, which was the world's largest online gaming company. Udaan's passion for helping e-commerce brands has propelled NetElixir to be a premier source for not only e-commerce strategy, but also industry insights and data. With that, I'll send it over to you, Udaan.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thanks a lot for the kind introduction. And again, thank you everyone who has really contributed to the Udaan Foundation. This is something very, very close to our hearts at NetElixir. We feel very passionate that every human being in this world really deserves an equal chance to education and a better life. And through the Udaan Foundation, we are trying to do our very, very small part in terms of giving back to these very deserving and smart, bright young kids in India. In today's presentation, I'll be sharing literally hot off the press actual e-commerce numbers for the Cyber 5 period. Cyber 5, as you know, is Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday, which was just about day before yesterday. The basis of this presentation has been aggregated data for our holiday retail customers between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday, as I mentioned. Overall, just to give you an understanding of the magnitude, we have been able to track more than 70 million website sessions. It's very heavily skewed towards website, though we share some data from our marketplace insights and trends group as well. The data has been captured separately for mobile and desktop for 6 holiday categories, though I must say that the line is blending very quickly between mobile, desktop, and even physical as well. We have extensively used our proprietary AI-driven digital platform called LXR Insights to gain a deeper insights into the very specific nuances of the consumer behavior. And last but not least, believe it or not, this is our 15th annual Cyber 5 results report. And boy, how much has changed, Rachel? I can't even explain the magnitude of change. When we did it first time, which was in 2008, things were completely different. And as we know, this holiday season, before we sort of even got into, there was a lot of uncertainty. There were a lot of questions asked. The Prime Early Access Day really got the entire holiday season started. But let us see as to how the results and numbers were. We will really be diving down into individual category level. And happy to answer any questions. Feel free to add them in the chat box or in the Q&A bar. Overall, this is again for our customer data set. As I mentioned, we are tracking about 85 customers in this entire group from about 6 retail categories. Our data set, we saw a 12% year-on-year growth in terms of e-commerce sales. For the month of November, it was a fairly strong month with about a 9% year-on-year growth. November also, incidentally, was the first month where it was almost consistently from the 9th of November has been a positive sales trend. We believe it has been caused due to the early start of many of the Black Friday and the Thanksgiving promotions, which merchants started literally beginning of November itself. If I were to dive down into the individual region level, West and Central lead the pack with about 15% year-on-year growth in terms of online sales for our data set again. And West about a 12% year-on-year increase in online sales. Now, when I say sales, I'm talking about online revenues. Northeast fell back a little bit to about 5% year-on-year online growth. And the southern regions had the southern states aggregated had about an 8% year-on-year online growth. So overall, it worked out to about 12%. In terms of the regional trends, no very specific comments. We believe there may be instances where Northeast, the impact of inflation may be getting felt a little bit more because the online penetration actually in the Northeastern states is higher than many of the other states around the country. The second part also can be, which probably is just maybe a hypothesis at this point in time, there may be a possibility that the number of new users who really embraced online purchases or online shopping really went up significantly in the Midwest. And probably that is the advantage that we are seeing as well. Overall aggregated level, we believe during this period, and we have really tried to compare very specifically for those of our customers who really have significant physical store presence, as well as obviously the online store presence as well. We believe the online sales aggregated to about 19% of the total retail sales during this Cyber 5. Moving on, we have tried to capture the orders and revenue by day. And this is overall a split as to what was the percentage contribution to the total orders and total revenue by day. Cyber Monday leads the pack. It also was the leader last year as well, with about 30% and 29% last year, followed by Black Friday. So no major surprises there. I think the trends remained pretty consistent last year versus this year. There was a bit of a change, as you can see last year. Very interestingly, the Thanksgiving Day was the biggest online sales day in terms of average order value. This year, that shifted to Black Friday. So Black Friday, we saw the average order value to be higher than any other day. Interestingly, the Sunday followed very closely in terms of average order value to Black Friday. Cyber Monday, surprisingly, even though the order volume was quite substantially higher than any other days or all of the other days, the average order value came down a little bit. Moving on, this is just breaking down the overall growth during these 5 days, as well as the entire month of November. When I say entire month of November, we have included data until yesterday. So in the apparel segment for the entire month of November was 10% year-on-year online sales growth. During Cyber 5, that number was 16%. In beauty was 22% during Cyber 5. Beauty has been a consistent performer for our data set. Gifting, we saw a pretty strong 12% during Cyber 5. Home improvement also, after languishing for long in terms of the percentage year-on-year increase, finally broke back into green. So essentially 1% growth year-on-year on the home improvement side. And when I say home improvement, we have included home improvement plus home furnishings in this category. Hardware and tools continued to be slow. And pet supplies were pretty much flat during Cyber 5. So no major shifts there. So on an aggregated basis, Cyber 5, as I mentioned, at least our data set registered about a 12% year-on-year online sales growth increase. For the month of November, this aggregated to about 9% year-on-year online sales growth increase. Again, if you have any questions, please sort of feel free to add them to the Q&A bar. We will be taking all the questions at the end of the presentation so that we are able to go through the entire presentation flow and sequence. But any questions, happy to answer them at the end. We also tried to really capture the year-on-year average order value increase as well, and 2022 versus 2021. And you must keep in mind that there is an inflationary impact factored in this as well. So effectively, Apparel was about 7.08%. So overall, on an aggregate basis, it grew by about 8.62%, was the average order value increase. When I say order value increase, basically the increase in shopping cart. How much bigger was the shopping cart during this time? It was about 8.6%. The number varied though in the hardware and tools. And again, there is a pretty substantial inflation impact on the hardware and tools segment as well. Roughly about 22%. Home improvement furnishings was about 16%. So it's a fairly wide mix. Pet supplies and gifting were the ones where the average order value were roughly flat compared to last year. We also tried to track the top day parts. When did the shoppers really buy online, actually complete the conversion or complete the online purchase? And this is this year's data, and we have compared it with last year. So no major shifts again. We saw a pretty big chunk. By the way, these are like 0 to 6 hours, 6 to 12 hours, and so on. So take that 24-hour day split essentially in 6-hour chunks. So in the first 6 hours of the day, or whatever, the midnight previous night to 6 a.m. was about 4.5%. 6 a.m. to noon essentially was about 32%. Noon to 6 p.m. Was 26.64% and 37% in the last, which is the last 6 hours of the day. So that's what the split was. It didn't change too much, very specifically. Through the entire part. So it is very, very comparable and very, very similar overall in the entire process. I see that David, you have a question. Would you, if you wouldn't mind placing it on chat, that will be really great. I'll definitely address your question at the end of it and go back to this departing slide as well. But thank you for the question. We also tried to quantify the impact of mobile. How big was the impact of mobile this year? And we found that mobile accounted for 58% of the site-wide orders during Cyber 5. And the average order value, though on mobile, was about 25% lower than the desktop. That percentage contribution of mobile keeps increasing. That percentage last year was about 56%. The year previous to that was about 52%. So mobile is very clearly, by every means, most definitely the primary screen that we are talking about. We have really tried to break it down by category, the mobile share in terms of clicks and the mobile share in terms of orders. Apparel has consistently been very strong in terms of a very pro-mobile category. Beauty as well. It has been fascinating to see some of the categories like pet supplies and home improvement, which historically have been a little lower in terms of mobile share of orders, have really picked up quite substantially. One part of caveat or cautions, I was doing some research, and it is still a little bit of a concern, probably more than a little bit concern, that still per Google research, which was probably about 3 years old now, the average load time of an e-commerce site is still about 15 seconds plus. Now, the research very clearly shows that beyond the first 3 seconds, there is a progressive loss of traffic. So we were trying to quantify as to just think of it, how much more you could have really gained in the overall conversion rates and the total number of orders had you really optimized your mobile site to stick within about in the 3 second vicinity. Let us say 5 second, 3 second vicinity, I think would be great. But as I mentioned, the Google research, this is again dated by about three years old data, is roughly about 15.3 seconds is the average load time at this point in time. So if there was one to do for all of the marketers and e-commerce businesses who are attending this conference, please pay attention to your mobile site and ensure that it sort of loads quickly. The mobile site loads quickly. This is the first time that we are sharing some Amazon advertising trends. And again, all of the trends that I have shared so far, I really have to give a big shout out to the entire retail intelligence team who have really worked extremely hard to get all of this data, analyze all of this data, and package all of this data in a record time of 24 hours or actually lesser from the end of Cyber Monday, right? So it's because of their hustle and the hard work that we are able to present it so quickly. Some of the Amazon advertising trends, and we'll keep it at a very high level, because again, the data set that we are talking about is smaller compared to our DTC data set, but it is substantial enough for us to really start presenting some results and insights. And it is most definitely the fastest growing data set as well, with the growing popularity of marketplaces. One of the very clear observations, and we have tried to capture it in terms of impact on each and every metric, you would see that the businesses which offered a deal versus a business which did not offer any deals, so deals versus no deals, the ones which did not offer any deal during Cyber 5 saw their CTR or click-through rate dip by 16%, while the ones which offered deals saw the click-through rate increase by 7%. In terms of cost per click, again, a very similar trend. Conversion rate, substantial impact. 30% for those who sort of offered a deal versus the ones which did not offer a deal was minus 13%. And last but not the least, average order value as well. So a fundamental question, I think, which very clearly, I think this data validates. If you are advertising on Amazon, you really have to offer a deal. It's just as simple as that. Without discounting, I think you will not really get the desired metric that you are really looking at and the performance gain. So we really wanted to make a very data-driven case for that particular, to validate for that particular line that I just mentioned. We also tried to capture the Amazon overall order comparison. Again, Black Friday was the biggest in this case. One of the interesting observations between Amazon as well as the direct-to-consumer, as you would see, the average order value was anywhere between 26% to 34% lower than the direct-to-consumer or a website order value. Now, that could have happened because of multiple reasons. One, when we really sort of dive into the order, the basket composition, we see different types of items being purchased. In certain cases, a different assortment of products being sold on Amazon versus from the website. The second observation was interesting because Amazon is hugely driven by probably more than 150 to 160 million Prime users now. There is no spending threshold, while most of the direct-to-consumer sites, if not almost all, really had a spending threshold, which may be causing this disparity in terms of the basket size. So just wanted to sort of point it out as well, that there is a perceptible gap. And we have, by the way, considered only the relevant businesses products while calculating the AOV. We have not really calculated the entire Amazon shopping cart size because understandably, we don't have the information about the other products which may be there in the basket at that point in time. But about, as I mentioned, 26 to 34% or 35% was roughly the overall AOV difference or difference as such are lower. Moving on to the next one. This is a complex slide, but if there were two takeaways I really wanted to highlight, the first one is look at the blue line. The blue line shows the conversion rate. And you would see that the conversion rate fluctuated, 1.41% to 4.24%, right? That really presents us a huge case as to why you really need to have a very clear departing and always on strategy for managing the campaigns. Because the overall conversion rates fluctuate dramatically, right? 3x, almost 2.5, 3x in terms of fluctuation. The CPCs also fluctuated, let us say $1.32 to about 1.67. It wasn't as much, or 1.23 to 1.67. It was not as much, but it was still substantial, right? If you really look at as a percentage basis. So this really prompts us to say that I think the amount of fluctuation, if you really look at the fluctuation as well, is quite substantial on Amazon. So without really having literally a real-time 24/7, very agile and very vigilant entire overall management process, it is really difficult for any advertisers to maximize what the overall potential that you can really get in each and every day part. So just wanted to call out that point and share some stats, essentially, again, entirely from our data set. So two clear observations. One, I think it's pretty clear by now. We have really done the analysis, or the team has done the analysis. We believe about over 35% of the Prime customers may actually have completed their holiday shopping prior to Cyber 5. We saw a very interesting trend. I don't have the slide here. We saw actually the CPCs decline a little bit during the Cyber 5 compared to the previous week. That probably is an outcome, primarily because maybe some of the advertisers may already have run their holiday shopping and they may have really already gotten to their overall Amazon marketplace goals. So, but 1/3 of the Prime customers seem to have completed their holiday shopping prior to Cyber 5, if not more. We believe Prime early access sale event that was there in mid-October, I believe it was 12th, 13th October, essentially. That really started a holiday shopping spree. Well, initially it was not really a spree, but it sort of grew into a spree over time, essentially. And it really got a lot of retailers and businesses activated. And as a result of which, we believe Amazon's real value in terms of activating the overall industry is just so massive. And this was a very clear example of that majority of the businesses, or at least the major retailers and direct-to-consumer companies, started their sales or the Thanksgiving and the Black Friday sales well in advance. One of the challenges, which I think as Amazon's ad business grows, understandably, there is more budget sort of flowing in. And I know there may be some folks from Amazon joining this as well, from their ad business as well, this webinar. My request is, I think there is an opportunity for us to learn from that experience. There were some substantial reporting inaccuracies which were observed. We started to observe it at around 4 p.m. on Friday, and it continued till about Sunday evening. And this was like the prime time, right? And we were literally, our team was running blind. And again, kudos to the team for really managing the campaigns. But it really becomes difficult to allocate the budget when you really don't have the right data to go ahead and refer to. So I'm pretty sure these are all challenges as a part of which sort of come with growth. And I am very confident, given understandable and proven competence of Amazon, that this would be solved very quickly. Some of the Google advertising trends, as I think most of you know, that we are substantial chunk of our advertising investment goes into Google. We are, as I mentioned, a part of the Google Agency Leadership Circle, which is the top 27 agencies in the US, out of a pretty big, wide group of more than 7,000 agencies. We are fortunate enough to be a part of this smaller group. So some of the advertising trends, I have mentioned in many of my presentations earlier that the future of Google Ads is AI. Let me repeat that again. The future of Google Ads is AI. And Performance Max, for those of you who may sort of remember this module, this essentially was launched in the month of Feb this year, which is about 10 months back, right? It accounted for 48%, half of all the paid search orders for our customer data set came from Performance Max campaigns. 48%, half of all the paid search. So it would not be completely unfair for me to come up with a projection that next year when we are doing this presentation, I expect this number to be more than 90%, 90%. So I really wanted to use this opportunity to really give a very clear message to all the advertisers to really move and embrace this AI-based modules of Google, because that is the only way forward. And there is a significant benefit and significant growth opportunity that you can really tap into by really embracing it in the right way and using the right tools as well. To make the Google AI work, you really have to have those toolkit, which really is able to make it work. But this is very clear proof there is a big shift towards AI-driven modules of Google Ads. We also tried to categorize, not exactly a like-to-like comparison, because as you know, shopping is a part of Performance Max, but so are a lot of the upper funnel formats as well. So, but very clearly, I think there is a shift very clearly, which is underway. And as you can see, Performance Max, again, is really driving a big chunk of the overall contributions as such, much bigger than what, at least for our customer data set, shopping was able to drive at any point in time. Some of the observations, 3 observations very specifically. I mean, for our data set, we saw the Google ad spend go up year on year by about 29%. So there was a lift in terms of Google advertising spend. But again, this is just a caveat, it's for our data set. We also found and identified great opportunities to win a share of voice in specific categories like apparel and gifting, where there were fewer advertisers advertising. And this was really probably one of the most interesting observations through this entire Cyber 5, that there were some advertisers who were advertising all the way till about Cyber 5, but for some reason paused advertising during that Cyber 5 phase, right? What it really meant was, if someone was really agile and vigilant, we were able to win that incremental impression share and clicks and conversions and share of voice essentially on Google, just by being agile and taking advantage of that opportunity where some of the advertisers had either pulled back on their spend or they had stopped spending during Cyber 5, expecting the demand probably to be low. The second part, which I already have emphasized, the future of Google Ads is very clearly AI powered. I have emphasized this. Now, PMAX were rolled out just about 10 months back, and this is what their impact looks like. And the third one is in terms of the Google ad spend, roughly about 29%. That's a pretty substantial growth, because it's the year started with almost like a 31% growth, had tapered down specifically in the month of September and October down to about 17%. We saw again that ad spend go up to about 29% as such. What is our outlook for the remainder of the 2022 holiday season? I know I've been throwing a lot of steps. I see a lot of questions coming in, so thank you very much. I'll try to address as many questions as possible after this session. So this is our overall forecast for the entire holiday season and the month of December as well. So we first of all stick to our initial forecast, which we had done on the 15th of September, that online sales will grow by 7% year on year. And when I say online, I'm talking about online sales revenue will go by 7%. So if you really factor in the inflation part, probably you're looking at probably about a 2 to 3% year on year increase in online sales. Again, that's very category specific though, just as a sort of a catch point. In the month of December, we believe apparel will, the overall year-on-year online growth will come down a bit. And the same applies for other categories as well. December, we are projecting a 5% year-on-year increase in online sales. This month, at least till yesterday, was about plus 9% year-on-year increase in online sales. So I've been aggregated, doing a bit of a weightage based on the past few years overall skew between December and November, when Thanksgiving fell on a similar 24th or 25th, that time period. We believe that the overall sales will still grow by about 7% year on year online, specifically this year. It's a pretty optimistic projection. And I wanted to dive in and highlight some of the factors very specifically, which I want to sort of call out just to conclude the presentation. The first one is, I think, very clearly, I have now had an opportunity to speak to many of our clients. And overall, I think there has been, the Cyber 5 has pleasantly surprised the businesses, because the sales were higher compared to what some of us were really anticipating it to. Prime Early Access event succeeded in kickstarting the holiday shopping. As I mentioned, Amazon has a huge impact in terms of almost like driving the rules of the game, or the industry in this case, and that it was successful in doing that. Most retailers offered very heavy discount during the Thanksgiving week. I think I read somewhere that the discounts had gone up to as much as 38%, specifically on Cyber Monday. The question that I have is, the impact will be felt on the margins. The deep discounting impact will definitely be felt on the margins. How do we really construe, or what do we really make out of that very specifically in terms of the results, is something that really needs to be given some careful consideration as such. The second part is, we believe that the discounts cannot be continued and will not be continued, right? Because that level of margin load, understandably, is not sustainable. So something, just wanted to keep in, put that out there. The fourth one is interesting. I mean, buy now, pay later. I think I had mentioned it in one of my previous presentations as well, a couple of months back. They saw explosive increase during November, right? It is obviously incentivizing incremental consumer spending. The concern is often the spending is beyond the consumer's means. We at NetElixir prefer to approach BNPL spending with caution, a bit of a cautionary note. What we saw, at least specifically on Cyber Monday, may point to very clearly some consumers definitely spending beyond their means, using BNPL as a tool. So just wanted to put it out there. Again, as you know, in our webinars, we sort of share very clearly our point of view, and that's what we really wanted to present. While a 9% year-on-year increase in online sales is great news, the growth is likely to be slower in December as retailers relax their discounts and the consumer demand, as a result, drops as well. Because we believe by the end of Cyber 5, close to about 62 to 65%, maybe 62% of the overall holiday shopping may have already been completed. And I really wanted to call out that very, very clearly and openly as well. It's a big chunk and a volume has really gotten completed, but I'm talking about by the end of November, right? So essentially in December, you're really looking at probably the still about substantial chunk. I mean, effectively about 37 to 38% yet to be completed, but I think a big chunk is completed now. And last but not the least, a strong Cyber 5 demand along with the ability to win incremental impression share on Google Ads for significantly less validates the idea that you should not cut back on marketing spend. I mean, I really wanted to call out that data because in many cases, I mean, as a digital marketing agency, you may think that that is something that I would say, but I think we have very clear data that we were able to win that incremental impression at a much cheaper price, just because some of the advertisers lowered their spend or curbed their spend, as well as stopped advertising. So this is a great time to really understand, and that particular statement to get validated, that this is a great time to win the market share. So thinking from a different perspective. And talking about market share, so those are the observations, the insight. Again, a big thanks to my team for really pulling out the insights. Happy to answer the questions. But before I do that, I wanted to really sort of just lighten up the spirit and sort of get you into the bit of a holiday mode with something that we are extremely proud of at NetElixir, our first video ad. So let me play this for you. And it is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek. It shows as to how the world of digital marketing is moving, or where the digital marketing is really moving to. And it's really compelling you to think that should you still be advertising and selling to an average customer?
Where are we with Project Humanize?
The high-value customer is almost complete, sir.
I'll be the judge of that. An average order value of $25? No, we must do better.
How would you like to proceed, Doctor?
Enhance the AOV.
Enhancing to $50.
Higher!
Enhancing to $150.
Calibrate the customer's retail category to fashion and apparel.
Ready to make a purchase.
It's out of control!
As long as you have a product to sell online, you can count on LXR Insights to find your high-value customers and bring them straight to your site. LXR Insights. Humanize every click.
I hope you enjoyed the ad. It was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek. If you are interested in a demo, we'll be more than happy to really provide a demo. But with that, let me go ahead and dive into the questions directly. Or Rachel, should I pass it on to you and maybe so that you can just take a look at the questions and let me know. Okay.
Thank you so much, Eugene.
Thank you.
So the first one from Tracy, what's included in the home improvement category? Can you just give an overview of that?
Absolutely. It's more of home improvement and home furnishings, Tracy. So areas like, let us say, blinds, window covers, furnishings, I mean, all that is sort of basically improvement. We have actually sort of for the first time also clubbed together things like high-end lighting and so on and so forth. So lighting products are also included in that as well.
Perfect. The next one's from Kushal. Would you attribute the rise in the average order value to the rise in prices through inflation, or have basket sizes increased as well?
That's a great point, Kushal. I mean, overall, when we really analyze that, the basket size have not really increased much. So in terms of number of units in the basket has not really increased much. So there is a substantial chunk of inflation order. But if you really break it down on a category by category basis, we are able to see that there are certain categories where the basket size has increased and the inflation level is not as pronounced. A couple of categories which come to my mind. The first one, for example, is pet supplies, where the inflation effect has been quite substantial. The basket size, in terms of number of units, has not really increased as much. Specific areas where we saw that inflation may not really have as much of an effect, but the number of units may have gone up a little bit, is apparel and beauty are two examples which I can immediately think of. Yeah.
Thanks, Udine. From Paul, the metrics overall seem strong, but how is the ongoing impact of inflation shaping advertising trends and just overall focuses?
Again, thank you, Paul. I think some of the questions, hopefully I've been able to answer some of them. So there were 2 or 3 observations I really wanted to re-emphasize them. The first one is the average cost per click. And again, we are talking about Google as well as Amazon. They have gone up a fair bit. Let us just put it that way, that for Google, roughly the CPC inflation was close to about 7 to 8%. Amazon was roughly in the same number, a little higher as well. That's, I think, one. The second part, which I think is something which we were a little surprised with, is the number of advertisers for certain categories dropping. So that means, I mean, effectively, a lot of advertisers, it seems, may have anticipated that the overall consumer demand may not be as strong as finally it sort of ended up being. And as a result of it, they decided to really curtail their overall ad spend. That, I think, was the second the interesting point. And the third and the final point is, we saw a significant amount of day-parting emphasis this time. So advertisers were definitely a lot more prudent in terms of when are they spending and when are they not spending around the day, right? So effectively, the day-parting concept, I think, was quite substantial. And last but not the least, as I have mentioned, with AI driving the majority of Google ads, or 50% is a substantial chunk for a module which did not exist 10 months back. It's my belief, and this is just my personal opinion point of view, Paul, that this number may actually reach as much as 90% when I am doing this same webinar about a year back, a year later, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Udine. We have time for about 2 more questions. One from Dave. Could you verify which kind of retailers comprise the sample of data that we shared today?
Absolutely. It's mostly the mid-sized and large retailers, Dave. So typically $20 million annual e-commerce revenue plus. But it's a fairly wide range, and they are from about 6 retail categories, which I have shared earlier as well.
And then finally, what was the most surprising trend this Cyber 5?
Can I take the liberty of giving 2? Rachel, I think the first one is the Google one, which I think is very surprising. Some advertisers stopped advertising and suddenly the demand was high and they lose share of voice. I mean, that's, I think, the first surprising one. The other one was, again, just to be very direct, because we never expected that level of deep discounting to happen during continually through the Cyber 5. Because the discounts had started pretty early. For most cases, around the 10th of November, a significant number of businesses were really starting to offer the discount. We didn't expect the deep discounting to last so long. And not only last so long, it actually sort of went up and became even stronger. So the Cyber 5 discount, especially the Cyber Monday discounts, were just, in certain cases, 38 to 40% overall discounting is literally something that we are not really seen through the entire year this year. So that is a very interesting trend. Now, this I can understand this, Rachel, if this was from purely from an inventory liquidation perspective, but not really. I mean, that wasn't really the only case. So effectively, from that perspective, it would really have an impact on the overall profitability margins. As such, it's bound to have, because such extended deep discounting is definitely likely to impact the margins. And I was pretty surprised with that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Udine. That's all we have time for today, but thank you to everyone for joining us. And we know because you registered and attended this event, we will reach out to the person who won the drone giveaway. So thank you for that. We'll also be sending out this recording via email so you can share with other colleagues who may be interested in hearing more about how Cyber 5 performed. And we hope everyone has a happy and prosperous end to the holiday season, and we'll see you next year. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.